Well, I'm pleased to say I'm joined by David Mitchell, who is a massive Greyhound owner with one of the biggest syndicates in the country now, and also works for My Racing, as you can see, which is a fantastic tipping line with a massive following, David. It's accumulated a real strong following, hasn't it?
Yeah, they've got, I think, 250,000 followers now on the horse racing and the Greyhound side of things.
How did it come about, and what sets it apart from other tipping lines?
It's more like a social community that My Racing came about. So I think it started on Facebook, and then I joined the company afterwards when they were just really kicking off on Twitter. And they have quite a good social following, you know, conversations between the guys on there. And yeah, it's really, really good.
Successful? Are people following you making money?
I believe so. If they follow me on the Greyhounds, they might make some money. So,
and that is your speciality, isn't it, the Greyhound racing?
Yeah, I stick with the Greyhounds now.
It does do other sports as well, if you want to have a look at My Racing.
Yeah, they do the Greyhound racing, they do the horse racing, the American horse racing, and the Australian horse racing, so they cover quite a bit.
So for you, with Greyhound racing, how do you pick your tips? What is it you look for in the form or in the dogs?
Generally, it differs. I like to watch obviously the videos, every video, if you check it out, watch the trials, well, see any trial information you've got, obviously look at the IGB if they're coming over from Ireland, check out the form, if any kind of information you can gather, but generally I watch videos constantly to see things.
Things like what? Are you looking for draws where the dog runs on the track?
You can obviously pick up little snippets of information. You can see a dog that's just starting out. Obviously I cover Crayford quite a bit, a lot of my dogs run at Crayford, so you kind of get an understanding of each dog and how they run, and then you can just see the opposition, how, you know, and take all the information in, then make a decision based on that.
How did you get into Greyhound racing then? Why is it such a big passion for you?
So I got into Greyhound racing probably when I was about 13. My dad used to take me to Gretna Greyhounds, which is like a flapping track. Went there every Friday night for many years. Eventually owned a dog there, and then kind of moved from there into, you know, proper racing as it was.
And it's gone from there. You absolutely love it, don't you?
Yeah, it's blown up from there. You know, we from the My Racing point of view, we bought 3 dogs. This is what I'm saying about the social media with My Racing, where people get involved. So we put a shout out on My Racing. Does anybody want to get involved? And we got 30 owners, and we started with 3 dogs: Droopy's Dazzle, Luca, and Hyde. And it kind of just started from there.
So obviously you gamble dogs yourself. What do you think is the key to it? Is it time? Because it sounds like you have to put a lot of time into researching your bets.
It's a lot of time, but also I think as an owner, when you're buying dogs or anything like that, you've got that information that you kind of know what your dog's capable of. You just don't know what other dogs are capable of, but you've just got to gather all the information and then make a decision based on that.
As a gambler, how do you deal with a losing run?
I tend to try and ride it out. If you change tactic, that's when things go from bad to worse. If you just ride it out, stick with it, and know that what you're doing is right, you'll come out the other side.
What personality traits do you think you need to, you know, not let it get you down and to keep going?
I think you need to just roll with the punches. You know, we all have bad days. I have days, you know, a year ago, 9 out of 9 at Newcastle. So days like that, you hold on to them. Any of the bad days, you ride them out, and you understand why you lost, and then move on.
Many people talk about the challenge of getting bets on, particularly in Greyhound racing, maybe in other sports as well. And I know that you've had accounts closed. What do you do? How do you overcome it?
It's very, very difficult, you know. I know a lot of the betting places, I know a lot of people get their accounts closed when they make a little bit of profit, and they find it difficult to get on here and there. Obviously, more now, owning dogs that are going to run in derbies, for instance, or bigger races, you can get an Ante-post bet on, which is good. But if you're wanting to bet on a night, it is, you know, you find it difficult, and the price swings quite drastic.
Do you take early prices?
Sometimes, but again, it is difficult. You take an early price, and then non-runner happens in ground race, and we all know what happens. It's sometimes a bit of a lottery, and then sometimes I mean, I'll tip some dogs up on my racing, and maybe a nap will be 6-4 when I tip it. It can be an hour later, it can be 4-7. It can swing so quickly.
What sort of bets give you the most satisfaction?
I think Ante-post bets. So tipping and betting a dog in a derby at a decent price, and then watching them progress. You know, I think last year in the English derby we had 3 finalists. So I think one of them was 100-1. I think in the Irish derby we had 2 finalists. One was 50-1, and we tipped up Lenson Bocco. I think he was 16th at the end. So I think the biggest bugs is definitely the ones that you get on early, and you know, as Ante-post.
So obviously you were a big Greyhound racing fan, you got into ownership and you chose Jim Daly to be your trainer. Why did you go with him?
Well, at the time, myself and Matt Newman, we discussed it. Matt runs the Syndicate with us. We discussed which trainer to go with. And at the time, Grant Holt and Steve Morrison were heavily involved at Jim's Kennels. And obviously Grant Holt's from the same town as me. So I kind of spoke to Jim Daly about it, and we got talking, quite friendly and things, and then moved on from there. And Jim's got quite good connections with Droopy Stud and managed to source us some dogs. So. And
you have since set up the Blue Tick Syndicate. Why did you decide to go down the Syndicate route?
So basically, anybody that owns greyhounds, has bought greyhounds, it's a labour of love. You don't invest in the greyhounds to get money out, which is quite difficult. If you want them to buy a dog capable of running in a competition, you know, your starting price is between 15, 20, 25,000 pounds, and to, you know, get that kind of money, you know, general public find it difficult. So we came up with the idea to come up with the Syndicate. We then moved into Blue Tick with the idea of actually getting a dog to run in a derby, running in some top quality races, and that's where that kind of came from.
What sets your Syndicate apart from the other big ones that are out there?
I think the people within the Syndicate would say that we're a bit more thinking about the future. We're definitely trying to push the envelope rather than just getting 50 owners or 20 owners together to buy a dog and then buy another dog and buy another dog. We make quite calculated decisions of every pound we spend, and so we take our time going through it, and we look at other opportunities as we have with Australia.
I think it's fair to say that you mostly had graded dogs for a while, but then you decided to take that jump and try and buy yourself a real good one, and you ended up with Blue Tick George. Of course, the derby is not far away, the Star Sports Greyhound Derby. What are his chances?
Well, he obviously came over from Ireland. He was a nice dog. He trialled at Harlow, did a nice time, then went to Romford, finished 3rd in the Puppy Cup. Some nice dogs came out of that, Make No Apology, from the Winter Derby. Some really nice dogs. So we think if he took an injury when he went to Newcastle for the Northern Puppy Derby, and we think that if we can get him right, he'll do okay in the Derby.
So as a man who likes to bet Ante-post, would you be getting on Blue Tick George?
We've already got on him now with Star Sport at some nice prices, but yeah, I think he's just trialled at Harlow last week, had a sprint, and it was nice, and I see how he progresses over the next couple of weeks, and we go to Nottingham, and hopefully if things go well, we know how greyhound racing can change day by day. He could run a good competition.
And of course it'd be a dream for every owner to win a Greyhound Derby, but it means a lot to you, doesn't it? You sort of have sleepless nights about this dog.
Yeah, after Romford and after Newcastle, and then looking forward to the Derby. I mean, anybody on social media will have seen that we've kind of been bigging the dog up, that we have high hopes for him. So yeah, we really think he can do well.